My name is Emily Thompson. I'm 29. At 7:43 p.m. on Saturday, March 16th, I was standing in my parents' living room, holding a manila envelope with my mother's face 3 inches from mine, her voice dropping to that deadly whisper she saves for when guests might hear. You walked into our anniversary party like you own the place, Emily, after everything we've done for you. After we opened our home when you couldn't take care of your own child. And now you show up here with papers? You're going to embarrass us in front of our family? I could see the banner behind her head. Happy 35th, Karen and Michael. 30-plus relatives holding champagne glasses in the next room, aunts and uncles and cousins I'd grown up with, church friends who'd known me since I was Lily's age. My father stood 5 feet away, arms crossed, his jaw working back and forth the way it does when he's deciding whether to get involved. "Mom," I said. My voice came out steady. That surprised me. "I need you to read this." "I don't need to read anything." She glanced at my father, then back at me. Her expression shifted, softened just enough that anyone watching might think she was being patient with a difficult child. "Michael, would you give us a minute?" Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. My father left the room. The kitchen door swung shut behind him. My mother took one step closer. She smelled like Chanel No. 5 and white wine. "Behave yourself tonight, Emily. Don't you dare make a scene." That phrase, "don't make a scene," I'd heard it my entire life. At 14 when I asked why Brandon got a car for his birthday and I got a used bicycle. At 17 when I questioned why they were paying for Brandon's logistics certification program, but told me I'd need loans for community college. At 22 when I came home for Christmas, 8 months pregnant, and asked why they'd already converted my old bedroom into Brandon's home office. Don't make a scene. As if my pain was a performance. As if asking for basic fairness was attention-seeking. "I'm not here to make a scene," I said. "I'm here to tell the truth." Her eyes narrowed. "What truth, Emily? That you've been homeless? That you couldn't hold down a decent job? That you had to drag my granddaughter to a shelter because you refused to accept help when it's offered? You didn't offer help. You offered control. We gave you options. You chose not to take them. You told me I could move home if I signed over custody." "Supplemental guardianship," she corrected. Her voice had that careful quality, like she was explaining something to a slow student. "Just so Lily would have stability if something happened to you. God forbid you had another one of your episodes." "I never had an episode." "Emily," she sighed, shook her head. "You were sleeping in your car with a 6-year-old. Because you. Because you made bad choices. Because you've always been dramatic and impulsive, and you never think things through. And now you want to come into our home on our anniversary and do what, exactly? Blame us for your problems?" The envelope in my hands was starting to crumple. I loosened my grip. "I want you to explain how you've been collecting $2,200 a month from my house for the past 2 years. Something flickered across her face, fast. If I hadn't been watching for it, I would have missed it. "Your house," she said it carefully, testing the words. "Honey, you don't have a house. Your grandmother set up a trust. For me. She set it up for me. For the family. To be managed responsibly." My mother glanced toward the kitchen door, then back at me. Her voice dropped again. "Emily, I don't know what you think you've found, but you need to be very careful about making accusations you can't prove. Slander is a serious thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I understood. I understood that she'd just threatened me in her living room while 30 people ate catered salmon in the next room. I understood that she thought I was still the same girl who'd apologized my way through childhood, who'd swallowed every insult and unfair comparison because family was supposed to love you, and if they didn't, maybe you deserved it. "I have the trust documents," I said. "The original ones. From Grandma Maggie's attorney." My mother's face went very still. "I have the rental lease you forged with my signature. I have the HELOC application you submitted in my name, listing yourself as my authorized agent." I have bank records showing $52,800 in rent deposits over 24 months. I have the photographs you sent to Grandma, the ones with the blue kitchen curtains and the new countertops. And I have the reverse image search results showing they came from a real estate staging website in California. Emily, I have the check you wrote to Brandon for $10,000. Memo line, Tahoe down payment, dated 6 weeks after you opened the HELOC. She opened her mouth, closed it. I watched her recalculate, watched her shift strategies in real time. You don't understand what you're looking at, she said finally. That house was sitting empty. Your grandmother was worried about squatters, about property damage. We were protecting your asset. By living off it, by stealing from it, by lying to Grandma and telling her I was doing great while Lily and I were sleeping on cots at St. Vincent's. We didn't know where you were. You stopped answering our calls. Because you told everyone I was unstable. You told Aunt Rachel I had mental health issues. You told Pastor Jim I was neglecting Lily. You poisoned every person in my life before I could even explain what happened. We were worried about you. You visited me at the shelter. Once. You sat across from me at that plastic table and you said, "This is what happens when you refuse help, Emily. This is what pride gets you." And then you left. You didn't offer me a place to stay. You didn't offer me money. You offered me supplemental guardianship papers to sign, and you said if I really loved my daughter, I'd do what was best for her. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. You're twisting everything. Am I? You've always done this, ever since you were little. Brandon gets something nice, and suddenly you're the victim. Your father and I make a decision, and suddenly we're the villains. You build these narratives, Emily. You always have. Then you won't mind if everyone hears this narrative. I turned toward the dining room. My mother's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug in. Don't you walk away from me. I looked down at her hand, looked back up at her face. Something had shifted in me over the past 6 weeks. Something had hardened the night I'd sat on the floor of the county law library until 11 p.m., reading trust documents by LED booklight, while Lily slept in the children's section with her head on my coat. Something had crystallized the morning I'd walked into the attorney's office, and he'd handed me the envelope and said, "Your grandmother knew this day would come. She prepared for it." "Let go of me," I said quietly. She let go, her hand dropped. "If you do this, you'll destroy this family." "No," I said. "You did that 2 years ago when you forged my signature and stole my house. I'm just telling people about it." I walked into the dining room. My mother followed 3 steps behind, her heels clicking on hardwood. The room went quiet. 32 people holding dessert plates and coffee cups, conversations dying mid-sentence. I saw Brandon at the far end of the table, saw my father standing near the window with Uncle Tom and Aunt Rachel, saw Cousin Lindsay with her phone already half raised like she sensed something was about to happen. My mother moved past me. She smiled, that practiced, gracious smile. "I'm so sorry, everyone. Emily and I were just having a little mother-daughter chat. You know how it is." Light laugh, hand on my shoulder. "Why don't we step outside, sweetie, and finish our conversation?" "No," I said. The smile froze. "Emily, I came here to give you this." I held up the envelope. "It's a certified demand letter from Grandma Maggie's attorney. You have 72 hours to vacate the property at 2145 Oak Ridge Lane and turn over all rental income collected since March 2023. You also need to repay the $35,000 HELOC you fraudulently obtained in my name, plus interest. If you don't comply, he's filing criminal charges for forgery, identity theft, and fraud." The room was so quiet I could hear someone's watch ticking. My father's face had gone red. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about. That house was left to me in an irrevocable trust by Grandma Maggie when Grandpa died. The deed is in the trust's name. I'm the sole beneficiary. Mom forged my signature on a lease agreement, rented the house to tenants for $2,200 a month, and pocketed the money. She also opened a home equity line of credit by listing herself as my authorized agent and claiming I gave permission. I didn't. I was sleeping in a shelter while she was sending Grandma photos of my beautiful new kitchen that she pulled off the internet. Brandon stood up. That's bullshit. Mom and Dad were managing that property for you because you couldn't handle your own life. Did they tell you that before or after they gave you $10,000 from the HELOC for your truck down payment? His face changed. My father took one step forward, finger pointed at me. You don't come into this house and accuse us of… The front door opened. Everyone turned. Grandma Maggie walked in. She was 78 years old and about 5'3", wearing a navy pantsuit and the pearl earrings Grandpa had given her on their 50th anniversary. She was carrying her big black purse and a manila folder that matched mine, and her expression was the same one she'd worn the day she'd walked into St. Vincent's family shelter and found me doing homework with Lily at a folding table in the common room. The room went dead silent. Hello, Karen, Grandma said. Her voice was pleasant, almost cheerful. Michael, happy anniversary. I hope I'm not interrupting. My mother's face had lost all color. Mother, this isn't a good time. Oh, I think it's a perfect time. Grandma walked past me, patted my shoulder as she went by, and set her folder on the dining table. She looked around at everyone, aunts, uncles, cousins, church friends, Brandon standing there with his mouth half open. I apologize for crashing the party, but there's something you all need to hear. Mother, Karen, sit down. My mother sat. I'd never seen her obey anyone that fast. Grandma opened her folder. 2 years ago, when my husband passed away, I put Emily's inheritance into an irrevocable trust. The house at 2145 Oak Ridge Lane. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, paid in full, no mortgage. I made Emily the sole beneficiary. I gave her the deed, the trust documents, all of it. I did this because I knew… She paused, looked directly at my mother. I knew that if I left it to Emily in a regular will, you would find a way to take it. That's not… I was right, wasn't I? Silence. Grandma pulled out a paper. This is a copy of the rental lease for 2145 Oak Ridge Lane, dated March 2023. Landlord's signature, E. Thompson. Except Emily didn't sign it. That's Karen's handwriting. I compared it to the birthday cards she sent me for 40 years. Same capital T, same loop on the Y. She pulled out another paper. This is the HELOC application. Again, forged signature. Karen listed herself as Emily's authorized agent. She listed Emily's occupation as property manager and used the Oak Ridge Lane address as Emily's residence. Emily hasn't lived in that house since she was 18. She's been teaching second grade at Rainier Elementary, a Title I school, for the past 3 years. On March 15, 2023, the day this HELOC was notarized, Emily was teaching 22 students during a parent observation day. I have the attendance records. I have the school security footage. I have witness statements from 15 parents who saw her that afternoon. My mother was shaking her head. I was trying to help. You were trying to steal, and you did. For 24 months, you collected $2,200 a month in rent. That's $52,800. You opened a HELOC for $35,000 and withdrew the full amount. That's $87,800 total. Where did it go, Karen? No answer. I'll tell you where some of it went. $10,000 to Brandon for a truck. $6,500 to that timeshare in Scottsdale you've been bragging about. The rest, I assume, went into your personal accounts. While Emily and my great-granddaughter were sleeping on cots at St. Vincent's. While Emily was teaching full-time and using the shelter's computer lab at night to apply for apartments she couldn't afford because her credit was destroyed by the fraudulent HELOC. Cousin Rachel stood up. Oh my God. Wait, said Aunt Linda. Emily was in a shelter? With Lily? For 4 months, Grandma said. Karen visited her once, brought her supplemental guardianship papers, and told Emily that if she really loved Lily, she'd sign over custody. Emily refused. So Karen told everyone in this room, that Emily was having a breakdown, that Emily was unstable, that Emily was neglecting her daughter. Grandma's voice hardened. She poisoned you all against Emily so that when Emily tried to tell the truth, nobody would believe her. My father was gripping the back of a chair. We were protecting the asset. Emily wasn't ready to. Emily was ready. Emily had a job. Emily had savings. What Emily didn't have was parents who loved her more than they loved Brandon. Brandon's face went dark. That's not. When did they pay for your logistics certification, Brandon? What did that cost? $8,000? And when Emily asked for help with community college tuition, what did they say? He didn't answer. They said she should take out loans. They said it would build character. They paid for your program outright and told Emily to figure it out herself. And when Emily got pregnant at 22 and came home for Christmas, what did they do? They turned her old bedroom into your home office. They told Emily there was no room for her. They told her she'd made her choices and now she had to live with them. The room was so still I could hear my own heartbeat. Grandma pulled out a photograph. This is what Karen sent me 6 months ago. She said it was Emily's new kitchen. She said Emily was doing great. She said Emily had really turned her life around. Look at it. Blue curtains, white subway tile, stainless steel appliances. She said Lily had picked out the curtains herself. She set the photo on the table. I reverse image searched it. It's from a staging company in San Diego. Stock photo. Cost $0 to download. Someone gasped. Grandma pulled out another photo. This is what Emily's actual kitchen looked like 6 months ago. She held up a picture I'd taken on my phone. Concrete walls, industrial refrigerator, signs that said, "Clean up after yourself and no food in rooms." That's the communal kitchen at St. Vincent's Shelter. Emily sent me this photo the day after Karen sent me the fake one. She didn't know I'd heard from Karen. She was just checking in. She said, "Hi, Grandma. Just wanted you to know Lily and I are okay. We're at a shelter, but I have a job now and we're saving up." Grandma's voice cracked. She paused, took a breath. I drove 3 hours that day. I walked into St. Vincent's, and I found my granddaughter helping her 6-year-old with reading homework at a plastic table while other families waited in line for dinner. And you know what Emily said when she saw me? She said, "I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry. I'm doing my best." I felt my throat close. "Don't cry. Not here. Not now." She apologized to me, Grandma said quietly, for being homeless, for failing, as if any of this was her fault. The silence was unbearable. My mother stood up. You're all hearing one side. Emily has always been difficult. She's always exaggerated. Karen." Grandma's voice cut like a blade. "I have the bank records. I have the forged documents. I have witness statements. I have the trust deed. I have Emily's employment records, her pay stubs, her credit report showing the fraudulent HELOC. I have testimony from Priya Mehta, the case manager at St. Vincent's, who saw Emily and Lily 3 times a week for 4 months. I have affidavits from Emily's principal, her school counselor, and the parents of her students. I have everything." She stepped closer to my mother. "You stole from your own daughter. You lied to me. You destroyed Emily's credit. You used Emily's inheritance to fund Brandon's lifestyle. And when you got caught, you tried to gaslight everyone into thinking Emily was the problem." "I want you to listen to me very carefully," Grandma continued. "You have 72 hours to return every cent. If you don't, Emily's attorney is filing criminal charges: forgery, identity theft, fraud. That's 5 to 10 years, Karen. Michael, you're named as an accessory. Brandon, you knowingly accepted stolen funds." Brandon's face went white. "I didn't know." "You knew enough. You knew Emily was homeless and you didn't question where your $10,000 came from." My father finally spoke. His voice was shaking. We were managing the property. We had the right. You had no right. The house was in an irrevocable trust. Emily's name only. You forged her signature on legal documents. That's not management. That's theft. My father looked around the room, at his siblings, his friends, his family, looking for support. No one met his eyes. Uncle Tom was staring at the floor. Aunt Rachel had her hand over her mouth. Lindsay had lowered her phone. My mother's voice came out choked. I'm her mother. Then act like it, Grandma said. Sign the repayment agreement, transfer the funds, apologize, or spend the next decade in court. I watched my mother's face crumble, watched her realize that everyone in this room had just heard the truth, watched her understand that her carefully constructed narrative, the one where she was the suffering mother and I was the ungrateful daughter, had just shattered in front of everyone she'd ever wanted to impress. I didn't mean, she whispered. I thought I was helping. I thought Emily couldn't handle it. I thought, you thought you'd get away with it, Grandma said. And then my mother said the thing that proved everything, the thing that made it real. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face and said, Why couldn't you just sign the guardianship papers? Why do you have to make everything so difficult? The room erupted. Aunt Rachel stood up. Karen, what the hell? Uncle Tom grabbed my father's arm. Michael, is this true? Did you really? Cousin Lindsay was typing frantically on her phone. Brandon had both hands on top of his head, breathing hard like he might throw up. I didn't wait. I turned and walked toward the door. Grandma caught up with me in the hallway. She grabbed my hand. You okay, little star? That phrase, little star. She'd called me that since I was 3. She used to say I was the brightest thing in her sky. I'm okay, I said. And I was. Something in my chest felt lighter, like I'd been carrying 100 pounds and someone had just lifted it off. Come stay with me tonight, Grandma said. Both of you. I have that guest room set up. Lily can have the room with the window seat. I thought about Lily. She was at the neighbor's house watching a movie, safe and oblivious. I'd pick her up in an hour. She'd ask how the party was and I'd tell her it was fine. Maybe next week I'd explain. Maybe next year. For now, she just needed to know she was safe and loved, and that our house, our real house, was waiting for us. Thank you, I said. Grandma squeezed my hand. Thank you for being brave enough to fight. We walked out together. Behind us, I could hear voices rising, arguments starting, family members demanding explanations. I heard my mother say, You don't understand. And Aunt Rachel say, No, Karen, we understand perfectly. I got in Grandma's car. She started the engine. We drove away from that house, away from the party, away from 32 people who finally knew the truth. The streets were quiet. It was 9:17 p.m. Street lights casting yellow pools on the pavement, radio playing soft jazz, Grandma humming along. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner, she said. About the house, about what they were doing. It's okay. I couldn't prove anything until you got me the documents. I needed you to find the paper trail yourself. Otherwise, Karen would have said I manipulated you. She said that anyway. Yes. But now everyone knows she's lying. I leaned my head against the window. What happens now? Now you decide. You can accept their repayment and walk away clean, or you can press charges. I thought about it. Thought about my mother's face when Grandma had laid out all the evidence. Thought about Brandon's panic. Thought about my father's desperate attempt to control the narrative, even as it fell apart around him. I want the money back, I said. Every cent. And I want them to know I could have destroyed them and chose not to. Grandma nodded. That's fair. 3 days later, my father transferred $87,800 into my account. Certified check. No note. I put $52,000 toward a down payment on a small condo near Cedarview Elementary. I put $30,000 in a college fund for Lily. The rest went to replacing the furniture and clothes we'd lost when we went to the shelter. I never got an apology, not a real one. My mother sent a text 2 weeks later. I hope you're happy now. My father sent nothing. Brandon sent a 3-line email saying he'd paid back the $10,000 and hoped we could move past this. I didn't respond to any of them. 6 months later, Lily and I were living in our condo. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen with a window over the sink. I'd planted tomatoes in pots on the balcony. Lily had picked out purple curtains for her room. We had a cat named Maple who slept on Lily's bed and knocked over my coffee every morning. I was still teaching second grade. Cedar View Elementary this time, 10 minutes from our place. I had 17 students. One of them, Marcus, reminded me of myself at 7. Quiet, watchful, afraid to ask for help. I made sure he knew his voice mattered. I made sure he knew I saw him. Grandma came over for dinner every Sunday. She'd bring flowers or cookies or some gadget she'd found at a yard sale. Lily would show her the latest drawing, the newest library book, the origami crane she'd learned to fold. Grandma would sit on our couch with Maple purring in her lap and say, "This is a good home, Emily. You did good." I saw my parents once, at a family funeral 7 months after the anniversary party. They were standing near the back of the church, talking to cousins I didn't recognize. My mother looked older, thinner. She saw me across the room and her face did something complicated. Shame, anger, maybe sadness. I looked away. I didn't hate them. I'd spent too much energy on that already. But I didn't forgive them either. Forgiveness requires remorse, and remorse requires admitting you were wrong. They never got there. Maybe they never would. I thought about Brandon sometimes, wondered if he felt guilty, wondered if he'd realized he'd spent his whole life being handed things I had to fight for. Probably not. People like Brandon don't question the system when the system works in their favor. But I didn't spend much time on those thoughts. I had better things to do. I had Lily's bedtime stories and parent-teacher conferences and grocery shopping, and the sound of Maple chasing shadows across the living room floor at 6 a.m. I had Grandma's Sunday dinners and my students' artwork covering my classroom walls, and the quiet satisfaction of opening my bank account and seeing my own money, earned by my own work, sitting there safe and untouchable. I had my life back, the one they'd tried to steal. If you're watching this and you've ever had to walk away from family to protect yourself or your kids, I want you to know, silence isn't peace. Silence is just the price you pay for someone else's comfort. And you don't owe anyone your pain to make their lies easier to tell. Some nights I stand in Lily's doorway and watch her sleep. She's 7 now, growing fast. She doesn't remember the shelter. She remembers Grandma picking her up for ice cream. She remembers the neighbor who let her play with the guinea pigs. She remembers me reading her chapter books by flashlight on a cot when the lights went out at 10 p.m. She doesn't know what her grandparents did. Not yet. Maybe when she's older. Maybe never. For now, she just knows she's safe and loved and that our little home is ours. And that's enough. Last week I was cleaning out a drawer and found the first letter Grandma gave me, the one from the attorney's office. I read it again. It still makes me cry. It said, "Dear Emily, if you're reading this, then you found the truth about what your mother has done. I'm sorry I couldn't stop it while I was alive. I tried. I warned her when I set up the trust that it was ironclad and that if she touched it, there would be consequences. She didn't listen. She never did. Do you remember when you were 9 and you asked me why your mom was always nicer to Brandon? You said, 'Grandma, is there something wrong with me?' And I told you there was nothing wrong with you. You were my little star. I meant that. The original trust deed is with my attorney, Gerald Pacheco. His office is at 1847 Northwest Morrison Street, Suite 400. The documents I've left you are copies. Enough for you to know I'm telling the truth, not enough for Karen to claim I'm manipulating you. You'll need the originals to prove ownership. Inside this envelope you'll also find Bank statements showing every rent deposit from 2145 Oak Ridge Lane. The forged lease with your signature. The HELOC application with Karen's handwriting. Affidavits from Priya Mehta at St. Vincent's. Your employment records from Rainier Elementary. The photos Karen sent me with reverse image search results. Don't show this to anyone except Gerald and the people you trust completely. Wait for the right moment. You'll know when it comes. You are not difficult. You are not dramatic. You are not the problem. You are my granddaughter and you deserve better than what they've given you. I love you, little star. I always have. All my love, Grandma Maggie. I keep that letter in my nightstand. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, when a parent emails me about their kid's grades, when Lily has a meltdown about homework, when the bills pile up and I feel like I'm drowning, I read it. I remember that someone believed me. Someone fought for me. Someone prepared for the day I'd need proof that I wasn't crazy. That's what love looks like. Not control, not conditions, not threats disguised as concern. Love drives 3 hours to a shelter because your granddaughter needs you. Love spends 2 years collecting evidence because you know your daughter will need it. Love walks into a party uninvited because the truth is more important than keeping the peace. If you've ever had to choose between protecting yourself and keeping your family comfortable, type, "I chose myself" in the comments. Or, if you're still trying to decide, type, "I'm still deciding." Both are okay. Both are brave. You get to decide what you can live with. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.